Welcome to season two of the Happy Sensory Corner podcast. As you know, at Mendability, we want to help everyone, especially when they're vulnerable, to feel happier, more comfortable in their own skin, more confident, so that they can be their true selves. And we can all journey together through life more happily. Our contribution is to work on brain health. As you expect, a stronger, healthier, faster, more resilient brain would benefit everyone, but especially those among us that we think about who maybe struggle with sleep or the barrage of information from the environment or their bodies even crippled with anxiety. And so we developed a gentle, family-centered program of whole brain games that boosts brain development and activates the brain's self-healing mechanisms. It's based on the neuroscience field of environmental enrichment, and we call it sensory enrichment. So while we're experts in brain development, you may say, we know there is so much more that parents have to navigate. One of the most overlooked, and I'm going to say deep but deeply impactful challenges that parents of children with special needs experience is the stress and emotional burden that comes with their parenting role. Feelings of guilt, self blame, the pressure to always do more can weigh heavily on parents, affecting not just their mental health, but their ability to show up fully for their children. And so I'm really excited today to discuss this with Katharine Giovanni. Katharine has spent years helping people navigate forgiveness, not just forgiving others. All right. We're talking about forgiving themselves. Let me formally introduce Katharine. She's a award-winning author, speaker, certified life coach, widely recognized for her expertise in forgiveness, personal empowerment, over 2 decades of experience, dare I say, Katharine. She's developed a unique 7-step forgiveness system designed to help individuals release the guilt, release the self-blame, and the emotional burdens. Her groundbreaking work has been featured in over 40 podcasts, media outlets, where she shares practical, science-backed, that's important to us, strategies to make forgiveness accessible and actionable. So thank you, Katharine, for being on our podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So Katharine, tell us about your journey. Did something happen to little Katharine that made you decide that forgiveness was going to be the thing?
There's a lot of water under my bridge, to coin an expression, right? It probably started, to be honest, it probably started back in 19, never mind what year it was. Uh, it was, I was in the eighth grade and my parents were really pickled, meaning they were both raging alcoholics. So connect that dysfunctional childhood where you want. And I was getting horribly bullied in school, like bad. And so, as a result of all these things, I tried to commit suicide and I turned into one of those kids. You know, the kids I'm talking about. They have one friend. They're always sick and tired. They're kind of depressed. They're angry all the time. They hate
Mm.
everybody. And that was me, believe it or not. And I kind of just floated through life till about 10 or so years later when my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out and we sent her to rehab. And for the next 3 years, we were tighter than sisters. We forgave each other. We told each other everything. We lived together. I mean, it was a really beautiful, beautiful 3 years. And then she died of breast cancer. And I realized right then that if I didn't change who I was, and I always thought there was something greater for me to do out there, I was going to die too. So I quit drinking. I've been sober for 35 years. It was the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept. So on New Year's Eve, it turned into 35 years. And in those rooms, you have to go through the step program and you have to do, I think it's a fourth step if memory serves, and you have to reach out and make amends. I am an extroverted introvert today. Back then, shy as a church mouse. So the thought of even reaching out to anybody that might potentially yell back at me and spit at me. No, no, didn't want to do it. So I did play lip service to forgiveness over the years, and it kind of changed my life. And I used to teach it in business because if you're angry, you can say, I can teach you the most beautiful words to say. I can teach you all of it. But if you're angry, it's going to bleed through your body language, whether you wanted to or not. You're not going to be able to control it unless you're a really good actor. But the problem with forgiveness is everybody from your parents, dare I say, to your teachers, to everybody tells you you need to forgive. Nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to? Then what do you do? I teach the how.
I, there's there's a couple of different. Yeah, I'm a little bit shell shocked. I'm gonna say because what you're talking about hits a deep-seated chord, if I could say it that way. Maybe some unprocessed grief and forgiveness here. And I'm thinking a lot of our audience are in the same boat.
Well,
So
that's
you're
because
talking about,
when you think of forgiveness, I can tell you exactly why you're doing that. Everybody watching and listening to this is doing exactly what you're doing right now. Because on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable dumpster fire, you hurt me desperately, to 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, 10 out of 10 people are thinking of their number 10s. And that's why nobody wants to forgive. That's why nobody wants to talk about it. That's why everybody has a problem with it, because that one person hurt you really badly and you don't want to forgive them. In fact, you really don't want to forgive them. So just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean they were right. I think we learned that in kindergarten when the teachers say, now go say you're sorry and go play with each other in the sandbox. Okay, well, as adults, that doesn't work very well. So just because I forgive you doesn't mean you were correct and I'm giving you a pass. What it means is I want you out of my head, period. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop talking about you. I want you out of my head. That's what it means. So that being said, you can even forgive dead people because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick because you're doing it for you. Forgiveness is selfish. You're doing it for you.
how does this work when you're trying to forgive yourself?
Many people, I'm going to have you, and I'll go through the entire system for you. So in case people don't want to buy the book, which I have worksheets and stuff in it, I'm going to give you the system today. But many people, when I have them write their list of people they want to that they want to forgive, they put themselves, and usually yourself is a 10, and yourself is 10s are hard, man. You're not going to get a number 10 level person down to a 1 overnight. This is going to take a minute because forgiveness is like an onion and there's many layers to the onion, and you're going to have to make a couple passes at it because you're angry. And the way I forgive my number 10 unforgivable person is the same way I would forgive my number 10 self. It's the same principle. We can talk about that.
I I had a list of questions I wanted to ask you, and when I look at my questions, I essentially ask you to go through the step. For example, one of the first questions I was going to ask you is, you talk about using a 10-point scale to help people start with less painful memories. Can you help us work through that? So yes, go ahead. Tell it. I think it's step number one, isn't it? Is make a list of all the people you want to forgive.
Step 1 is to make your list. And I want you to sit down, and I really legitimately want you to use a pen and paper. If you're a young person, you're just going to want to use your phone or your laptop or your whatever these things are. That's how old I am. But there has been studies and science has absolutely proven over and over again that there's something magic that happens when it comes to your brain, goes down your arm, and you write it on paper. And there's a lot of studies on it. So I'd really prefer you write this on paper. And I want you to just write without thought. I want you to write the people you think you need to forgive. Okay? And then once you've written your list, I wrote 50 the first time I did it 10 years ago. But once you've finished your list, then I want you to rate these people from 1 to 10. 10 being unforgivable, 1 being easy. The easy ones are like the person who was driving on the Interstate 95. That's an American expression. Yeah, the person who was driving down the highway yesterday and cut you off. You can forgive that person. The person who cut you off on aisle 4 of the grocery store. Come on now, you can forgive that person. The person who stained your sweater in high school. You can forgive that person. Easy, easy, easy people. Now the unforgivable ones, they're hard. And everybody rates their unforgivable. Everybody has a different pain point. So what I think is unforgivable, you might not think is unforgivable. You might label them an 8, thinking, no, I can forgive that person. Maybe you're thinking of the same family member. You can't forgive the person, but yet your sibling can. That's fine. I don't care about your sibling, with all due respect. We're just talking about you. You know, a lot of parents want to forgive themselves for maybe things that they might have done. Maybe I should have eaten better. Maybe I should have exercised. It's my fault. You need to put yourself down on the list. That's probably a number 10 thought, right? And I want you to rate all the people from 1 to 10. Now you could have 9 number 5s. I don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. This is your party. You can do anything you want. Then I want you to be alone for maybe like 10, 15 minutes. There's an off button on your phone. I don't know if anybody knows about this magical button, but there is a button there that you can turn it off. I said this to somebody about 5 months ago. I'll never forget it. And the color drained from the woman's face, and she almost started to shake. It's like, okay, clearly you have a problem. I said in my head. But there's also a magical button called the mute button. Don't hit it vibrate, because the minute that phone starts to dance in your desk, you're immediately going to go look at it. So I want it to be muted. Just don't forget to unmute it later. And I want you to be alone. I don't want dogs. I don't want cats. I don't want kids. I don't want spouses. I don't want anybody. I want you to be alone. One of the beauties of my system is you don't have to reach out to the person. You do it alone. In the privacy of your own home, nobody has to know. Nobody has to know. And the person you're probably mad at isn't thinking of you at all. Doesn't that just make you mad? You know, especially women with our exes, we kind of want them to wallow a while and be as mad, as angry and sad as we are while we're eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. But they never are. They're always happy. They're not even thinking about it, you at all. But you're just completely finished, and it's in your head. So I want you to sit down, and I want you to put your hand in your heart, because it reminds me to say the words from my heart. And the words are really just for us humans. It's the energy behind the words that makes the most difference. And when it comes to your number 10, I'm the only one that's ever going to say this to you. You don't have to forgive your number 10 unforgivable person. You don't. It may not be even appropriate for you to forgive them. Why don't you have to forgive them? Because there's many other people, places, and things, and I did say places and things, stay with me, that you can forgive before you even get to that person. Okay, Katharine, I have forgiven them, and I've done the work. Yeah, you did. 100%. You forgave that person, but they're not staying forgiven, are they? That's because the special sauce to the entire method is you've never forgave the energy around the person. Einstein very clearly proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transitions from one thing to another. So everything has energy, including this little microphone, which is inanimate. I can't pronounce that word. You know what I'm trying to say. Inanimate. But
Not animate.
everything, that's what he said. Everything has energy around it. And when you get angry, you think it leaves your mouth and it just magically dissipates into the universe. Sadly, it does not. It hangs around your energy field until you clear it. So the special sauce is, I have a mantra in the book. I'm a very simple soul. You don't have to chant. You don't have to burn any sage or anything unless you really want to. Knock yourself out. You don't have to hold crystals or do anything like that unless you like crystals. Knock yourself out. It's a very simple poem, and it merely says, I completely forgive Kim. I completely forgive the energy around Kim. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire thing. And so it is. Amen. So help me God. Godspeed. End it any way you like. Seriously, that's all it is. And once you say that, I want you to check in with your body. Did that number one go away? You still mad? No? Cross the person off the list. Is it a number 4, 5, 6 level person and you're still angry? Okay. Well, did it go from a 5 to a 4? Can we at least, did it go down or did it stay the same? Right? Did you try it with a number 3 level person? This happened to a really close friend of mine. And now it jumped up to a 9.
Hmm.
Ooh, why did that happen? That's not supposed to happen. No. Well, that's because the brain is the most amazing tool and it protects you. So forgiveness is like an onion. And what that mantra did is it cleared the first layer of that onion. And your brain is going, ooh, Kim is knocking at the closet door. I'm going to open this closet. He doesn't even know who's there. And I'm going to flood him with memories. Because that's what happened. You have a bunch of movies playing in the back of your mind that you don't even know is there. And you're conducting your life. But the movie's going. And you don't know it's playing until you turn it off. Forgiveness is one of the methods that you can use to turn it off.
I've got some follow-up questions. They're not what ifs.
Uh-huh.
They're things that I think, although I'd like this idea of places and things is intriguing. But that's
We'll talk about it.
why does nobody have to know?
They can know if you want to. If you want to reach out to people and make amends, that's fine. But in my book, forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean repair. Forgiveness means I want you out of my head. If you want to mend the relationship, maybe it's a parent or a sibling or an ex-business partner or an ex-lover, whoever it is, sure, give it a shot. But in my world, I'm forgiving for me. I'm not forgiving for them. It's never for them. It's all for me. So let's talk about when you forgive, what's going to happen? Well, first thing is you're probably going to get tired because you will. A lot of people do. They get really tired, which is why I want you to do it before bed. Some people feel, my older son felt that his shoulders felt lighter and he thought it was crazy. And he said, but they really felt lighter. He couldn't understand it. A lot of people feel energy move in their solar plexus, which is above your belly button, right kind of in the middle of your body. And they kind of feel energy there. What's really going to happen is once you really forgive people and manage to toss it and you get them down to a 1 and you toss them, you can go on Facebook, you can go to a party, you can see their name and you won't care. You're not going to think good, you're not going to think bad. You literally won't care. What this forgiveness system does is it removes the emotional charge. We all know the saying forgive and forget. Nobody really forgets. I don't know anybody who forgets, but it will remove the emotional charge so you won't care. You're going to be able to move on with your life. And you're going to notice things. You're going to be able to start to pay attention. Coffee's going to taste better and you're going to notice maybe a money-making opportunity that you didn't see before. And you're going to be noticing, maybe a dream significant other. Why? Well, for anybody listening to the podcast, I'm about to hold a very purple teacup right in front of my face. So this cup, coffee, tea, but this cup represents anger and bitterness. But look at my body language. Easy to hold off to the side. Come on, Kim. I can manage my anger. This is easy. I don't know what you're talking about. I can absolutely manage, and I can because I'm easily holding it off to the side. But humans irritate other humans. And you're going to be putting more resentment and more anger into the cup the longer you hold on to it. So now I have 2 hands holding up to the cup. It's still at the side, but it's starting to mess my life up. I'm starting to kind of creep into my conversations in my sleep. If I hold on to it too long, then now it's in front of my face. My life is stopped pretty much. It's all I can talk about. It's all I can think about. I'm not sleeping anymore because I'm up worrying about whatever's in this damn cup. And my life has stopped. So by using my forgiveness system, it's going to allow you to move. Once you do the easy ones, the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, Your little cup of anger is going to easily move to the side. Now I'm back to, I can pay attention again. My life is opened up again. I'm able to talk to people. My life is completely opened up. And eventually, if you keep working at it, you can put the cup down and your life will be completely different. That's what it does for you.
What
And
about
let's talk about the science behind
I
it.
got a hard one now. Well,
Go
I think
ahead.
it's hard. Um, I
I
guess it's
love the
hard because
hard
it's
questions.
sensitive. What about trauma? What about uh y- your brain was affected by an event and now
Right?
your brain is in trauma state. And the past is a present, the present is the past, everything's there. What do you forgive? Who do you forgive? How do you forgive that? Is this what you mean by forgiving places and things?
You cheated. You read the book. Yes. No. I would treat the trauma the same way I would treat an unforgivable or forgiving yourself. If you can't forgive the unforgivable person, which is fair, it could be something really traumatic. I want you to pick apart the memory, whatever memory comes up. So let's take one of my own real life examples. Let's take the bully that bullied me when I was a kid. Okay. And for a very long time, I wasn't able to forgive the bully. I wanted to be mad. I wanted to stay angry. They hurt me desperately. I didn't want to forgive them. So I forgave the energy around the person and just that. Didn't forgive the person. I just forgave the energy. I have a friend who was so angry she couldn't even forgive the energy. Didn't want to. So now let's pick apart the memory. So I was bullied in school. Everything has energy around it. As I said, even this little microphone. So I forgave other things within the memory. I forgave the building my school was in and the energy around the building. I forgave the table, the desk, the chair. I forgave the playground. I forgave the ground that we walked on. I forgave the calendar date. Not kidding. I forgave the people that stood around and didn't help me and the energy around all of these things. And then I waited a week and I chose another memory and I did it again. And that's how I'm picking apart the memory. And that's kind of how you can take a number 10 and you can probably get it down to a 9. Then you might take it down to an 8. This is a marathon. This is by all means not a sprint. It's a marathon. But you can forgive anything. I forgave 1974. The year. Just forgave 1974. Now, I did pick apart the memory. That's the year I tried to commit suicide. So I did pick apart the memory, but it was still tripping me up. So I forgave the year. You can forgive anything. Do you love football? Okay. Did your team lose last week and are you angry about it? Yes. Forgive the football team and the energy around the team. You can forgive politicians, dare I say. You can forgive anything. You could forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. It's going to do wonders for you. And if you are your own number 10, then pick apart the memories that you're beating yourself up for. Pick them apart. Pick apart the hospital bed. I'm a cancer survivor, stage 3 breast cancer. I forgave cancer. I actually said, I completely forgive cancer. I forgive the energy around cancer. I completely forgive myself for anything I may or may not have done to get cancer. I forgive the energy around this. I forgive the energy around the whole thing. I forgave chemo, the chemo chair, radiation, the doctors, the nurses, especially the ones who weren't nice to me. I forgave all of them. I forgave the hospital, the building, the energy around the building. You see what I'm doing? I'm picking apart the memories. You can forgive anything.
I like the freeing process. At first you
Mm-hmm.
said, forgive places and things and energy, like, oh my goodness, what are we talking about? But what I'm seeing in my mind is all those things that are using up a little bit of brain energy.
They are.
They
They're
don't
using
need to
up
be
energy.
there. They don't need to be there. I want to be creative. I want to, all these positive things. I want to, and if there's anything that stands in the way, a method of is to just forgive it. That's the word that we're choosing
You
to
can
use
forgive
to
it.
say eliminate
You
the
can
thought
forgive the
of.
piece of paper. You can forgive glasses. You can forgive anything. Now, there's another saying that anger is toxic. Okay. Why? How? Is it just a magical thing? Why is it toxic? What exactly does it do to you? Well,
That
there's a
was my
study.
that's going to be my next question, but I want to add to
Yeah.
anger,
Hmm.
depression. I feel like if I wanted to have this conversation, say, hey, there's this wonderful podcast, this you need to talk to Catherine, you need to read her book. I have the feeling that a couple of people will resist the idea of forgiving because now they're letting the abuser win.
They don't win. You do it for you. As I said earlier, forgiveness is selfish. If I forget, and that is, you just hit a wonderful question and it trips everybody up. And I've been told so many times over the last decade, I don't want to forgive them because then it means I'm giving in. It means that they've won. No, it doesn't. It actually means you've won. It means that they still lose, they're still wrong, but you've won because you want to move on and you want them out of your head. You're the prisoner, not them. It's like you drink poison and you're assuming the other person is going to die. I'm just saying. So depression, which from what I understand is a chemical imbalance within your head a lot of the time. There was a study done by a Japanese researcher. It's called the Japanese Water Study. Google it. It'll come right up, I promise. And his name is something like Matsumoto. I can never remember his name, but it's something like that. You'll see it right online. And what he did is he took two containers of water, several containers, and I'm simplifying this. One container of water, all he did was talk to it. Said he loved it. The most beautiful words in the world. He told it he loved it and how beautiful it was and how he thanked it and all that kind of thing. The other container of water, hate, like a lot of hate, like the most hateful things he could even come up with, nasty things. Then he froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water that he said love to had these beautiful, beautiful snowflake kind of formations. The water he spoke hate to had these awful black and brown formations twisted into themselves. So, why am I telling you this? Your body is more than 95% water. So, when you are depressed and you've got negative self talk and you're bitter and hatred and anger, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your body? And how is that affecting the organs in your body? It's toxic. So, by forgiving people, as Einstein clearly proved, you're literally changing the energy within those water cells from a dark force to a light force.
The idea, what I was thinking when I said add depression to the mix is people feel they're in this self-destructive pattern
Mm-hmm.
where it doesn't feel good to take positive action. It feels good to take negative action. They're sort of punishing themselves because it feels good to them. It's a sort of a strange way of describing depression for
Then
me.
simply start with the thought, I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive. I completely forgive myself for having this depression and the energy around this thought. I completely forgive myself for not believing in forgiveness and the energy around that, and say that every day for the next 5 days. And that's going to start the energy moving, and it's going to start slowly. And you're going to start to, that closet, instead of opening up very wide, it's going to open up a crack. Some memories are going to pour out. Start forgiving the memories that come out. You might start thinking of situations. You can forgive memories. You can forgive places. You can forgive cities. You can forgive people. You can forgive anything. You can forgive the dog who just peed on the dining room table. Forgive the dog. You can forgive little things. You don't have to start with the number 10s. First, start with the easy ones, the stupid ones. Forgive the dog.
Do you have, I feel like telling the story of someone who was had a unforgivable looking story or something to forgive and then forgiving themselves and what they were able to accomplish. Having worked with so many people through the years, you must have your flagship story. What is it?
I have a lot of flagship stories, and when people start to forgive, it's a beautiful thing. because when they get the system, it kind of, you can see their body language, their face kind of lights up. And they go from being this negative Nelly type of person to somebody who's actually able to put their head out the door. Remember, I was shy and I was an introvert, so it was kind of a new thing for me too. And I have this one client whose business was just, it just wasn't working. She tried everything. She tried, you name it, she tried it. And she called me. We did a session together and I worked through the forgiveness with her and I helped her write her list. And she worked it for about a month and she came back and she was this new person. Money was flowing. She found a business partner. Her life had opened up. She was thinking about dating again. She was on a diet and she was starting to think about her. And today it's been several years now and the woman is just completely transformed. Absolutely transformed. So this will open your life. But let me give you a few little warnings. First of all, when you start to forgive people, you're going to change. The vibration of your body, to use scientific, is going to change. So you're going to be attracting, like energy attracts like energy. So you're going to be attracting new people into your life. Jim Rohn has one of my favorite quotes. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending your time with? So by forgiving, you're going to be attracting people into your life. Along those same lines, you're also going to repel people. I have maybe a dozen people who left my life and I've never seen them again. They're just gone. I call them jackrabbits. And then you have the family members who love the old you and don't want you to change. So they'll sabotage it. So be aware of these things and just stand your ground. Now, there's a reason why I only want you to do 10 at a time at night before you go to bed, because your body heals itself before you go to bed. So I did this exercise because I do my own exercise. And I must have had 50 people down. Didn't even really know about the places and things at this time. And I was in my 50s at the time. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to be a new person. It's a new Catherine, and nobody's going to know who I am. I'm going to be so different. Okay. I did forgive many people on the list. Yes, I did. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. Why? Remember those water cells I was talking about? They have to go someplace. And your body is literally going to transmute itself. It's literally going to flush out all those cells that are toxic. So the reason I only want you to do 10 at a time is your body can handle 5 to 10 at a time. Don't do 10 number 10s. You'll be in bed too. I'm talking about 1s and 2s and 3s. My friend Katie will tell you do 2 or 3 people a night. She'll tell you that. But your body is going to heal itself when you're sleeping. So it's easy for it to transmute. But if you are in the bathroom, please don't think you ate a piece of bad fish. You did not, and it's going to clear itself really fast. It's literally your body just trying to get rid of that toxic sludge that you've been carrying for decades.
On their own or coached? Do you think people can really do this on their own?
Yes, I've seen many people do it on their own, but this is a brilliant strategy to do with a partner. I only have one word of warning. If you decide to do this with your significant other, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your best friend, whoever, make sure their name is not part of your list. I think it
Or
might be just a
start the
slight
process
bit
after?
awkward. Yeah, you
Well,
might want to
isn't
do
it
it
healthy to put the partner on there and then have them part of the process?
maybe. See, this would
Mm.
not be on my bucket list. I might put that on my rhymes with bucket list. I got 2 lists. That might go on the other one. But I'm
Hmm.
shy. I'm a natural introvert. So I just pretend I'm an extrovert when I have to. So if you're introverted and you want to do that and the other person wants to do that, I would probably knock that one out first and then do the rest of your list. But if you want to do it with a buddy, it's actually brilliant because you are going to have memories. You are going to get upset. You might even cry. Don't be surprised. And you're going to want to talk about the memories that are coming up, and then you're going to want to forgive them. So that's why we only want you to do a few at a time, especially in the higher numbers. Only, when you're dealing with sevens, eights, nines, and tens, they're a bear. They're tough. That's why I want
So
you to pull apart the memory.
you've gone through your seven-step forgiveness system quite quickly early on in the thing, and then we've asked questions, so we've revisited some and kind of gone into out of order. Is the best way for people to um, revisit and learn in the right order to read your book, or is there another resource you'd recommend?
You can go to my website, and I do a lot of podcasts, and I always go through the entire system on every podcast that I do. So just pick one of them and listen. But I do have the audiobook available on Amazon. So we have the paperback, the ebook, and the audiobook because I understand not everybody wants to read. So the audiobook is there. And you can go to my website, which is katharinegiovanni.com.
Do you coach people through
All the
this
time.
forgiveness
All the
program?
time. And if you're having trouble with this and you've done the easy ones, but you've got this bear of a 10 person and you think you're ready, we can do a session together and I'll walk you through it. But
Because
this is powerful stuff. This is like the law of gravity, which works whether you believe it or not. The law of gravity, I could call the law of gravity, the law of keeping Kim on the planet. It doesn't care. It's still going to work. I don't believe in the law of gravity. It doesn't care. It's still going to work. The law of forgiveness is the same. I can, and walk you through my own number one. It was somebody I went to school with years ago in grammar school. Had not talked to this woman in maybe 30 plus years. I'm actually not kidding. And I thought, I could do this. It's I don't even remember what we were upset about. So what I did is I sat in the middle of my bed. I was all alone at the time, and I imagined her as I knew her back in the 70s. Not the adult, the kid that I knew. And then if you want to say something to this person, remember, you're alone in a room. You can do anything you want. So if you want to let them have it, let them have it. But say anything you want to the person, anything you like. And then I want you to say the mantra. Now, if you can't imagine the person in your mind's eye, put a chair in front of yourself and talk to the chair. You could put their picture on it. You can even put their name on it if you want to, if you just can't imagine their face in your head. And then I said my mantra. I completely forgive Martha. I completely forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire thing. And so it is. That's what I usually say. But you can say anything you like, amen, whatever you want. And then I just walked away from it. I only did the one person that day. This is a true story. 2 hours later, she called me up on the phone. I am a concierge trainer by trade, did it for over 25 years. My concierge training kicked in virtually immediately, and I was shocked out of my mind. I mean, my jaw was dropped to the floor. I hadn't talked to her over 20, 30 years. So we said the right words and we made the right noises and we reminisced and did what people do when they're making up with each other, but I couldn't stand it. And I said, I'm a curious little bear. After all these years, why did you call me today? And she said, it was the damnedest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying the mantra, a figurine you gave me in school flew off my shelf and landed in the middle of my floor. I saw the figurine and thought I should give you a call. So if the energy of forgiveness can move a figurine off a shelf 700 miles away, if this energy can transmute and change the water molecules within your own body, imagine what it's going to do to your life. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, she says. Oh, so much we don't know, and so much that you've uncovered, and so much that you've taught us today. I feel like this is a powerful way of ending, almost on a cliffhanger or on a cliff falling, referring to the figurine that fell off the shelf.
Well, when I imagined that she left the room, I was in the bedroom and I was very careful not to imagine her walking out the window and falling to her seeming death. I did imagine her walking out the door down the hall, which is very silly, but that's what I imagine. But if you've got parents who are passed or friends that are passed or anything like that, you can forgive the dead. You can forgive dead people because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter where they are. They're still
Mhm.
alive in your head. Get a picture of them, imagine them in your mind as you knew them back then. Let them have it so you can get a little closer and then forgive them. because the prisoner is you, not them.
I have a question I want to ask, and I may edit it out if it doesn't work because I don't want to end on a bad note.
Mhm.
But how does this process work if you are going to meet a person who abused you in a building? So you want to forgive everything, you want to forgive everyone, you want to forgive the energy, and then you do, and it takes you months because it's a big deal, it's part of the trauma. Uh, and then but you know that in this building on specific days of the week, this person is going to be there.
Love the question. Love that question. Let's use an example. And we're going to call this person Aunt Martha because I don't have an Aunt Martha and it's safe. And I've always told podcasters if there's a Martha that you know, I'll swap out the name if you want. It's fine. But there are no Marthas in my
I
family,
don't
so
know
I can't
any.
get in
Yeah.
trouble. Let's say you spend Christmas with Aunt Mara and everybody in your family every year. And most of those years, you're sitting next to the woman. She's nasty. She kind of smells. She knows where your buttons are and she pushes them on a regular basis. You just can't stand them. You can't stand her. She makes you cry. It takes you 1 or 2 weeks to recover once you get back home. And then everybody in your family starts to fight. So what do? Christmas is coming. The woman's going to be there. What do? I want you to pick apart the memories. Pick one memory. Pick one Christmas. Or in your particular scenario, start picking away at whatever horrific thing that person did. Pick away at the memory. In Aunt Martha's case, forgive the table. I'm actually not kidding. Forgive the table and the chair. Forgive the chair that she was sitting on. Don't forget to forgive the energy around these things. Forgive the turkey that's in the middle of the table. Not kidding. Forgive the other people who sit around and just watch the show every year and the energy around all these people. Forgive the house, the energy around the house. Forgive the car that you drove there, the energy around the car. Forgive yourself for anything you may or may not have said, and then wait another week and pick out another memory and do it again. So by the time you get to Christmas and you are seeing Aunt Martha or you're seeing this horrific person who's unforgivable, you're not going to care. You're not, and if she pushes your buttons, which she will, my mother used to say every family's the same, only the names are different. So we all have an Aunt Martha in our family of some kind, all of us. And when you actually meet your Aunt Martha, you're not going to care. And she's not going to be able to hurt you with your words because there's no emotional charge there anymore. You're free. You literally don't care. I run into people all the time that I've forgiven, and I'm the queen of talking about the weather. It's, I'll talk about it, but just because I've forgiven you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I don't. So we're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about anything but what you want me to talk about because I don't care. And that person might be in the building someplace and they were horrific and they hurt you, but the emotional charge won't be at a 10 anymore. It might be down to a 5. So if you do run into them and you pass them in the hall, you'll see them. The memory will flash by you because it's a number 10 person, because it will, but you're not going to care as much. You're not going to care. And
Because
that's the magic of forgiveness, because eventually you can forgive that person down to a point where it's just gone. Listen, all jokes aside, I did have a rough childhood. I can look back at my childhood now and I can see the love that was there. I can see the adults who were trying to help me. I could probably remember the bad things if you really asked me to, but I don't. I really don't. I could look at pictures of my family now from the past, from the 70s and 80s, and none of it bothers me anymore. None of it. I can look at my father's second wife, and she's passed. Sorry, Anne. But I can look at her picture and she doesn't bother me. I actually remember some really fun things that we used to do together. I never remember that before. So have I changed my past? Yeah, you betcha.
Mhm.
Absolutely I did. So a lot of people saying I don't want to go back to my past because it was so horrific. I'm only asking you to go back once or twice more to clear it so you can be free.
Love it. This turned out to be an even better way of ending our episode. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Catherine. And everybody listening, have a blessed and hopefully more free week.